Well, we're in Exodus again, still, and we're in chapter 17. And before we read, let's pray again. And Mark, would you pray for us tonight?
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for all of your blessings. It's a privilege and honor to serve you, the Almighty. I pray that our time with you this evening will be well spent, that your word will go from your book to our ears, to our minds. Keep it safe in our hearts that we might remember to share it with others. We pray this in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mark. Okay. Last week we left off with, God miraculously feeding the people as they're starving out there in the wilderness. And once again, they were complaining. Moses, you brought us out here to die of starvation. We had it better back in Egypt when we were slaves. Nostalgia. What's the problem with nostalgia? The past always looks better than it really was. Isn't that right? Think about that. That's usually how it was. You forget, oh yeah, there's some bad parts of that. Yeah, forgot about that. So it's kind of selective amnesia, but so here now, they're going to be at a place now where they're thirsty. Don't know what they were drinking prior to this. Must have been some waterways, some rivers, something like that. But now they're heading out. So we're looking at 17. It says, from the wilderness of sin. Again, that's always such an ironic word, but that's just English for us, not describing actual sinful nature, but nonetheless, there's something poignant there. From the wilderness of sin, the whole congregation of the Israelites, how many people do we think there were?
6 million.
Okay, probably 6 million easy. It's amazing how many were there. They journeyed by stages as the Lord commanded. I want you to go here, go here, go here, go here, go here. They camped at Rephidim, but there was no water for the people to drink. The people quarreled with who? Moses. And they said, give us water to drink. Moses said to them, why are you upset with me? Right? Why are you quarreling with me? Why do you test the Lord? Why does he say that?
He says, why don't you?
Why do you? Why do you test the Lord?
Moses knows that.
Christ's patience.
Yeah, he'll take care of them. Moses is confident in that.
And they should be confident in that
That from
God
the
will take
past.
care of them.
All of the things he's done for them in the past, every time they were wanting, and they're not learning anything.
Are they? Why are you getting all mad again? The last 10 times you had a problem, God answered. You have the same response to difficulty. How many of us have the same response to difficulty? And we don't learn. Okay? And you can cut them as a little slack because it is quite characteristic of the human person to respond the same way. And it takes a long time to change how you respond to stress, to difficulty, to challenges, to tests. And so you understand why he's going, I can't believe you're doing this. I mean, you're testing the Lord. They may be testing the Lord's patience.
Yeah.
It's like, man. I need to see a little more faith in this. Gary, you say something?
Well, kind of not in their defense, but what they were probably going through is doing some rationalization before they just out and out. Why are you doing this to us? I mean, think about it. We've got 6 million people here and no water. That's pretty serious.
That's a serious issue.
It'd make you maybe question a few things.
It would. It would make you question your leadership and the God that supposedly your leader is following. So they keep thinking, man, Moses is doing the wrong thing. He's leading us astray. And they keep looking to him. See, Your leadership is the problem. Was it?
No,
No.
their faith.
Their faith was the problem. He was actually doing exactly what God said. And the whole thing is going to test. And it's going to test them. And it's going to teach them. And hopefully they'll learn these lessons. Okay? So it continues. But the people thirsted there for water. And the people complained against Moses and said, "Why did you bring us out of Egypt? To kill us and our children and livestock with thirst." So Moses cried out to the Lord, "What shall I do with this people? What do I do with these people?" You ever do that? God, what do I do with so-and-so? Somebody in your life? Somebody in your family? They keep responding a certain way. They keep acting a certain way. God, what am I going to do with them? Because they're looking to me. The Lord said to Moses, "Go on ahead of the people, take some of the elders of Israel with you, take in your hand the staff with which you struck the Nile, and go. I will be standing there in front of you on the rock at Horeb." I'm going to be standing on the, you can't see me, but just know I'm going to be standing on this rock. I'm going to point you to a certain rock. Strike the rock, and water will come out of it, so that the people may drink. Moses did so in the sight of all the elders of Israel. He called the place Masalt and Meribah. And you may have Massah and Meribah. It's quarreling and testing. Thank you, Tony. Because the Israelites quarreled and tested the Lord, saying, "Is the Lord among us or not? God, if you're really here, you'd do something. You'd show up and you'd solve our problem." And how often do we say that? Right? That's a regular thing, okay? So I told you about this documentary I have got to find. I think actually you can see the whole thing online. Maybe next week I'll think about it. But I'd like to show it. But I told you about these two guys that set out. They have a documentary of them literally finding where the Israelites went. And they find it. And it's mind-blowing. And they find this place that is this, right here in this very area. Right where the Bible said it was. There's this massive stone that's literally just, it's weird. It's split like a V. Right in front of it is this ginormous reservoir. You might say that's empty. But looking at it, you go, that's the only place that this could have happened where you could actually get, I want you to think of how many people have to come around and drink. Okay, think about a stock tank for animals. Think of this place out here, Landmark Lake. How many cattle can you get around it at once to drink? Okay, we got how many people that are dying of thirst?
6 million.
Okay, so God needs we need a lot of water, and we need a lot of water fast. So we need a really big fire hose, and we need a place to contain the water, and where people can come with their clay pots or whatever, and grab that and then start, helping everybody get a drink. And I'm telling you, there is this place that you can see, and you look at it and you go, that is it. And it's very strange, because there's this huge rock that's been split down the middle, but it's still just sitting in the earth right in front of this big reservoir. I go, that's got to be the one. Very cool. Nonetheless, you're using your imagination to help you see what that scene was like. Verse 8, then Amalek came and fought with Israel at Rephidim. Moses said to Joshua, here's where Joshua makes an appearance. And Joshua is the guy who 4 years later is, of course, going to lead everybody into the promised land. Choose some men for us and go out and fight with Amalek. Okay, we got this guy who's coming. He's fighting us. Listen, you got to go find some guys that can hold their own and makeshift weapons or something, but we need an army, and we need an army stacked. There's never been an army. Right? They're fresh from slavery still, but, maybe some folks, they for all you know, there's some real strength after being slaves and doing a lot of manual labor. Maybe some of these boys are pretty darn tough. And some of them maybe are signing up for the job. Yeah, we'll defend our families. We'll defend our fledgling nation. Tomorrow I will stand on top of the hill, says Moses, with a staff of God in my hand. So Joshua did as Moses told him and fought with Amalek. While Moses, Aaron, and Hur, who's Aaron? Moses' brother. Who's her? People, well, I'll just say Jews believe, the traditional belief is that her is Miriam's husband. That's Moses' sister, the prophetess. Okay? Aaron and Hur went up to the top of the hill. Whenever Moses held up his hand, Israel prevailed. Whenever he lowered his hand, oh, my arm's getting tired holding this staff up, Amalek prevailed. So they're at the top, you see the scene. They're up in some high hill somewhere, and the battlefield is below them. And as long as Moses is doing this, just because, our guys are winning. But when his arm's getting tired, he lowers it, they're losing. But Moses' hands grew weary, verse 12. So they took a stone, put it under him. Here, buddy, sit down. Now, he's 80 years old, by the way, at this point. Aaron and Hur held up his hands. One on one side, one on the other side. So his hands were steady until sunset. I think the idea is this: he's got the staff, he's holding it like this, and these guys are just holding him up. His hands were steady until the sun set, and Joshua defeated Amalek and his people with the sword. Sometimes God asks you to do some weird things. You find in the Bible time and time again. I love the story of Naaman. Okay, if you remember, he was the commander of an enemy, the Assyrian army, and he had leprosy, and he hears that Elijah's got the power to heal people. It's the God of Elijah that does, of course, but Naaman thinks it's the guy Elijah. He goes to him and he says, "Hey, I hear you can fix me." And he says, "Yeah, this is what you do. Go down to the Jordan River," which at that time it was just polluted. I mean, it was a place where animals and people would use for washing, bathing, bathroom use, everything. He goes, "I want you to dunk your head in it just 7 times. Come up 7 times, you'll be good." And he's mad as a hornet. He's going, "You got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me." I mean, and he storms off thinking this guy's trying to make a mockery out of me. And he's got an assistant. He goes, listen, Naaman, before you lose it here, maybe the guy's got something. Maybe he knows something we don't. Just give it a shot. And the Bible says that he does it. He dips down, once, twice, no change, 3 times, nothing, 4 times, nothing. You can imagine he's probably going, this is the stupidest thing. And, there's underwear and dead fish floating by and everything. That's not in the Bible, but I'm saying probably what happened. And you can imagine this friend is going, just hang in there, man, 3 more times. Just come on, do it, whatever. And he finally, it says the 7th time he comes up out of the water, and his skin was as pure as a baby's skin. Brand new skin. What's the point? There's always a test. There's always a humbling process. You want something? Okay. I'm going to ask something of you. You're asking something of me? Let me ask something of you, big, tough Army General Naaman. Go take a swim in the sewer. And believe it or not, when you come out of the water, you're going to be healed.
More than healed.
More than healed.
That's the weird thing.
More than healed.
And am I conflating stories, or is that the same one where he also says, the assistant says, if he'd asked you to do something hard, wouldn't you go do it?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
There it is.
Yes.
It's the same story. That's right. The assistant goes, yeah. And that's such a wonderful thing. He goes, if you would have asked you to climb Mount Everest, you would have done it. Because you would have thought, seeing that. See, that I want a challenge. I want something that, because to him, there's a different equation going on of what is probably from God. And he probably wants to have I want a little part of my own healing. Hey, look what I did. I climbed this thing and I got well.
When he says we have better rivers back in.
He did. He goes, we got better rivers back home. What am I doing swimming here?
He had to humble himself in the sewer.
Right.
He had to humble himself in the sewer. Isn't that great? Has he asked anybody to do that? Has he asked you to do something humbling? Think about it. So it's amazing. Why the thing about the staff? God from the burning bush, he goes, hey, Moses, take that staff in your hand. Because, he goes, how am I going to convince Pharaoh that, this is all real, what you're asking me to do? Take that staff, throw it on the ground. All of a sudden it became a serpent, became a venomous snake. Oh! It was picked back up. And all of a sudden it becomes a stick again. Holy cow! Is it a magic stick?
No.
No. What's the stick for Moses?
Is it the promise that God will do what he says he'll do when Moses does with the stick?
Take that stick, I want you to stick it in the Red Sea. Water parts. Take that stick, that same stick, whack that rock with it. Breaks and out, the fire hydrant just goes off, and everybody's drinking something. It must have been a waterfall of water coming out of that thing. What's the deal about the stick?
The wooden? Well, yes, it's God's instrument, but possibly if God did something before all those people and Moses that would not be associated with Moses, he wanted Moses to represent him and lead the people. So it's a visual thing from them to Moses to the stick, that sort of thing.
I agree. There's something about, who wears the crown? Who's got the magic wand? Who's carrying that? That person's got the authority, they got the power. It's interesting. It's a device, it's this thing that everybody can see. Moses is the guy who's got it in his hand and only works in his hand. King Arthur's sword, right? Isn't that the one nobody can pull it out of the stone? Or Excalibur, right? Yeah, it's Excalibur. It belongs to one person. That kind of idea. Very interesting.
You could have the grandest thing happen and days and weeks later, men being the sinning people that they are, men and women, you would say it was just an act that happened. There's no one to pin it to, so you don't give credit to anybody. But if you have someone wielding that staff, it's visual. They saw him do it.
Yeah. That's true. That's good. It definitely, it puts the mark on Moses. It identifies Moses as a leader. It's a great visual, isn't it? Now, is there a spiritual lesson here or a lesson on spiritual leadership here? When Moses is fatigued, everybody.
We need to hold up our spiritual leaders as well.
Okay.
Take part and take some of the burden on it.
You hearing that?
No, can't hear him.
Okay. Say that again.
Oh, I said we need to hold our spiritual leaders up as well and, help them out and take some of their burdens away. So like they did here for Moses.
Okay. Yeah. Now, I want to clarify when it comes to spiritual leadership real quick. Okay, it's all equal at the cross, right? Yes. Nobody's greater than anybody else, right? Right. There's, as Paul says, no difference. Male, female, slave, free, Greek, Jew. Hey, we're all one, all the same in Jesus. Equal standing. Okay. Nonetheless, there's a hierarchy, right? Even in the church. And I can't tell you why God put me in leadership then anymore. I can tell you why he would have put me somewhere else. I just know this is my call. What we know about spiritual leadership is that it is often under attack. Strike the shepherd, the sheep will be scattered. If spiritual leadership gets tired, lazy, just fatigued, burned out, everybody's going to feel it. God looks to spiritual leaders in a church. He looks to elders. He looks to us. And we're told in the scripture, our job is to make sure we care for the flock. We're all sheep, but some are just in leadership positions. And if we get fatigued, what good are we? We become vulnerable. You become vulnerable. Show me a church with weak leadership, and I'll show you a weak church. Show me a church with strong leadership, I'll show you a strong church. Show me a leader who's leaving a wide, deep wake as they're working to make an influence. I'll show you a church that's doing that. It's just how it is, right? All right. So, there's something we see right away there in this thing with Moses. It's very interesting. There's another lesson on the leadership that's going to come in the very next chapter. But I do want to mention that the Amalekites that they're fighting, who are the Amalekites? We talked about them on Sunday mornings. They are descendants of Esau. Remember Esau? Jacob's brother. And they're just going to be a pain in the neck for quite some time. And God lays down the law at the very end, verse 16. The Lord will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. God is going to make sure that there's going to be an ongoing battle between the two. But God is going to, for some reason, he just is going to not pick on them, but watch out for them and engage them. Because they're going to be a constant threat. And that's what you also got to do. There are always constant threats. You may have an enemy that just keeps pestering you. They never go away. You could beat them once, they'll come back. Beat them 3 times, they'll come back. I hate to say it, it's kind of like politically speaking, it's the right and the left. You think you won on one, all of a sudden, here's more. I'm trying to fight this battle, here's more. I mean, what's the legislature going to deal with this year? This is going to be very interesting. Norman's going to have his plate full.
They're going to do all of it.
You're going to deal with all of it.
Everything in their dog is doing this year.
Yeah, so I mean, they're going to do everything they can. They're going to throw at you. Oh my God. And they never get tired of it. So you've got to keep engaging it, okay? Because their values are very different. Chapter 18. Who's Jethro? Father-in-law, right? This is Moses' daddy-in-law. He's what?
Midian.
He's a priest. Oh. He's the priest of Midian. What kind of a priest? Is he a Jewish priest?
No.
Yeah?
I don't,
What is he?
Midian?
We're not told what kind of a priest he is. In fact, we find out that a little later he goes, wow, God really is the one God. Like he's on a learning curve. But he was a spiritual leader in Midian as best as he knew how to be one. And he was the father-in-law of Moses. When Moses ran away from Pharaoh after killing that one slave when he was 40 years old, he ends up at a well. Remember that? So he's there in Midian, falls in love with his daughter, and all of a sudden he's living there. It's kind of like a replay of what happened with Jacob. When he ran away, lived with his uncle. So what we find out, Jethro, the priest of Midian, Moses' father-in-law, heard of all that God had done for Moses and for his people Israel, and how the Lord brought Israel out of Egypt. After Moses had sent away his wife Zipporah, his father-in-law Jethro took her back, along with her 2 sons. The name of the one was Gershom, for he said, I have been an alien in a foreign land. Gershom, Ger, is the Hebrew word for alien. So he was named that. The name of the other, Eliezer, Ezer, is the word for help. For he said, the God of my father was my help and delivered me from the sword of Pharaoh. Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, came into the wilderness where Moses was encamped at the mountain of God, bringing Moses' sons and wife to him. He sent word to Moses, I, your father-in-law Jethro, am coming to you with your wife and your 2 sons. Moses went out to meet his father-in-law. He bowed down, kissed him. Each asked about each other's welfare, and they went into the tent. So you see the thing here. You get the idea that before Moses went in and starts doing all this stuff with Pharaoh, I think he goes, hey honey, you and the boys, I think you'll be safer at your dad's place. I got this thing I got to do. And then, now that they're out, they've all been delivered, word gets to Jethro, wow! And he gets a little sample of what happened. God did what? Wow. And he sends word, he sends a runner out there, hey, go tell Moses I'm coming, I'm bringing your wife and your boys with you. And they meet, oh, well, it's a great reunion. And then they go into the tent and they start talking. And it says, verse 8, that Moses told his father-in-law all the Lord had done to Pharaoh and to the Egyptians for Israel's sake, all the hardship that had beset them on the way, and how the Lord had delivered them. Jethro rejoiced for all the good that the Lord had done to Israel in delivering them from the Egyptians. Jethro said, blessed be the Lord who's delivered you from the Egyptians and from Pharaoh. Now I know that the Lord is greater than all gods, because he delivered the people from the Egyptians. He's on a learning curve. And Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, brought burnt offerings and sacrifices to God. And Aaron came with all the elders of Israel with bread, and Moses' father-in-law, they ate bread with Moses' father-in-law in the presence of God. Then the rest of the passage, if you know this, I'm going to go through it quickly, but 13 to the end, the next day, Moses, it says he sat as judge for the people, while the people stood around him from morning until evening. When Moses' father-in-law saw all that he was doing for the people, he said, what are you doing? Why are you doing this alone, all by yourself? All the people stand around from morning till evening. There's a faster way to do this. So Jethro, this guy's interesting. He knows something about leadership himself. And he goes, y'all need to delegate. So this is where, it's kind of cute. He's watching his son. I don't know how old Jethro is. But he's watching his son trying to do everything. Because so far, he's the guy who's had to do it all. But now it's time to, hey, there's some stuff you can give away. There's some things leadership cannot give away. There's some things you can give away, and some things you cannot give away. For all, right? Just think about stuff you got to do. Moses, this stuff, making decisions for people, because when you have probably 6 million people together, you're going to have some quarrels and problems, and this is mine, that was mine, no, that was mine, you took it, or whatever it is. They're fighting over animals, possessions, whatever it is. We're not told. But when it says he's acting as judge, he's literally having to deal with disputes, and everybody's going to him. Why can't they do it? Why can't they resolve the conflict alone?
We don't know how. We never had to.
I wonder, did the taskmasters quell, any little skirmish that the Hebrews had amongst themselves?
They're not being productive if they're fighting amongst themselves.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you think of what a correctional officer does in the prison.
Mm-hmm.
When prisoners start to fight, they stop the fight. They try to keep the peace. Maybe that's what it was like in Egypt. Nonetheless, this is where he goes, listen, let's break this down. Let's make an organizational flow chart. And you find X amount of folks, put them over X amount of folks who are over X amount of folks who are over X amount of folks, and you see the pyramid structure. That simple. That works. He goes, you ain't the only one who can probably do conflict resolution, Moses. There's some other people around here who know how to settle disputes, and that's just great. And from that, of course, it's just one of those biblical principles that everybody usually takes from that chapter when it comes to any kind of leadership and stuff you got to do. Delegate, find people you can delegate stuff to. Chapter 19. Got to go verse by verse on this one. Okay? This is 3 months after the Israelites leave Egypt. They arrive at Mount Sinai. So it's been 3 months. On the third new moon, verse 1, after the Israelites had gone out of the land of Egypt, on that very day, they came into the wilderness of Sinai, or in Sinai. They had journeyed from Rephidim, entered the wilderness of Sinai, and camped in the wilderness. Israel camped there in front of the mountain. So they're there on the base of this mountain. Then Moses went up to God. The Lord called to him from the mountain, saying, thus you shall say to the house of Jacob, and tell the Israelites, you have seen what I did to the Egyptians, and how I bore you on eagle's wings, and brought you to myself. Now therefore, if you obey my voice, and keep my covenant, you shall be my treasured possession out of all the people on the earth. Indeed, the whole earth is mine, but you shall be for me a priestly kingdom and a holy nation. These are the words that you shall speak to the Israelites. Out of the whole earth, if y'all do what I'm asking for, I'm going to make you a kingdom of priests. What? Yeah. What Moses is doing, y'all going to be. What Aaron's doing, y'all going to be. Really? Yeah. Because there's a world that I want to get to know. But I need some people who are going to be that bridge and represent me. But what an amazing thing. A holy nation, a priestly kingdom, a holy nation. The law, this is where the law begins. It's going to be now this section. And as we go through it, the rabbis count a total of 613 specific injunctions in the law, 248 positive commands, 365 prohibitions. And all of them, you can say, are Israel's declaration of dependence. Because they're declaring we are dependent on God. It's their constitution, it's their organizational structure, and it's their Bill of Rights. It really is. We'll see that as we go through it. And so in Exodus 19, I'm just going to tell you, he makes 3 trips up to the top of Mount Sinai. Each time he comes back with a message from the mountain. The first one's verses 3 to 8. God speaks to him, and what we just read, God says, tell the people, obey my voice, keep my covenants, my laws, my policies. You're going to be my special possession out of the world, out of the whole earth. You're going to be a kingdom of priests, a holy nation. And those words are the center, they're the theme of the entire Pentateuch from here on out. The first 5 books of the Bible. It's amazing. That's what's going to be in Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. He's trying to build a righteous, holy nation to represent him on the earth. How successful is it?
He's still trying over here.
He's still trying. It's pretty rough. Okay? And I'll just, verses 9 to 15. We'll make it. Okay, verse 7, so Moses came, summoned the elders of the people, and said before them all these words that the Lord had commanded him. The people all answered as one. Everything that the Lord has spoken, we will do. Moses reported the words of the people to the Lord. Then the Lord said to Moses, I'm going to come to you in a dense cloud, in order that the prophet may hear when I speak with you, and so trust whatever after. The idea is that God's going to speak to Moses in earshot of the people, so that it affirms the authority that Moses has, and that has been given, and the relationship that he has with God. It's God's way of saying, I want to have a conversation with you in earshot of everybody. But it's going to be in a dense cloud. Bizarre. A dense fog. You're going to disappear into it. You're all going to hear a voice. Kind of cool. God tells them, as we keep going, when Moses had told the words of the people to the Lord said to Moses, go to the people and consecrate them today and tomorrow. Have them wash their clothes and prepare for the 3rd day, because on the 3rd day the Lord will come down upon Mount Sinai in the sight of all the people. Something about that 3rd day thing that's always so cool. On the 3rd day I will rise from the dead. You shall set limits for the people all around, saying, be careful not to go up to the mountain or touch the edge of it. Anybody who touches this mountain was going to be put to death. No hand shall touch them, but they shall be stoned or shot with arrows. Whether animal or human being, they shall not live. This is God's line. Okay, wow, what? He goes, if somebody comes near and, touches the mountain, you got to put them to death. Now don't go over there and touch them and beat them up. No, you got to shoot them with an arrow at a distance. Or throw rocks at them so they die. Why is God laying down such a harsh limitation? Why can't people just come up on the mountain and talk with him? Why just Moses?
He doesn't want them to see him.
What else? Keep going.
That's all I had. I mean, what they talk about after they build the tabernacle and those things is that you can't look upon God directly.
So God, this is where they're introduced to something. This God that wants us to follow him, this God that has done all these amazing things, says if you come too close to me, you're going to die. Wait, you just said you're going to make us a kingdom of priests and a holy nation? Yeah, I'm going to make you holy. And I'm going to start by laying down the law. Okay? I'm going to make you holy. And here's number one. I'm holy. That's why I can make you holy. And because of the difference between you and me, you cannot touch where I'm calling home right now, my temporary home. Don't touch your little foul, dirty feet on my mountain, or I'm putting you to death. That's called the fear of God. The fear of God is a good thing. I've said this before. When you have a high fear of God, you usually have a high fear of sin. When you have a low fear of sin, you got a low fear of God. If you have a high fear of God, you have a high fear of sin. You have respect for God, you have respect. You understand what sin can do to you. And how it will affect your relationship with God. But here's where everything starts. God is holy. So here's God saying, I'm going to introduce myself to you in this way.
Isn't this almost like he's starting to lay down the Levitical laws? This is how the priests will behave. You need to wash your clothes. You need to come this far. You can't go any further. These are the consequences. And they carried it through.
Yeah. It's amazing what he's establishing right now, yes. And the Levitical law is about to come. And it's the priestly clan that he assigns as the priests for the nation itself, as he wants to make the whole nation priests for the world. They've got everything starts here. God is holy. We're not. He's pure. We're filthy. Something's got to happen so that we don't get the kibosh or get struck by lightning. We need this God to keep us alive. He's been good to us. He protected us. But we can't get too close too soon. We got to fix something with us before we can really get to know him. So God sets in motion an understanding now for a bunch of people that don't really understand human sin. He's about to drop the very next chapter, the 10 Commandments on him. It's pretty much this. Y'all don't understand how screwed up you are. Let me help you understand how lost you are. I mean, why do most people not become Christians? They don't understand how lost they are. They think nothing's wrong with me. I've lived a good life. I think when I die, I'll get to heaven. God's going, you are so off base. You have no clue the difference between me and you. And you think you're going to get in here? You think you're just going to waltz right into this place that I made? I mean, I made you. I made the world. I'm the one that calls the shots. This whole thing is my story. It's my game. And you are telling me what you're going to do and you're just going to come in here because you think you've lived a good enough life? It's my rules. God starts laying out the rules.
They have to understand where their level is as far as the holiness.
Yes.
And that if they don't have that, they can't go any further.
Absolutely. That's great. Yeah.
Was he also kind of putting forth a lesson? He's this God has now made these priests to kind of share in and all of that. Yet here he's saying and including them, drawing the line in front of them, so that the people that aren't priests down below also see that being sinful, they may try to become as lordly and powerful as they can be so that they're kind of included with him. And he's showing everybody that there are levels, and he's the top level.
That's good. Yeah, and that's very good. We're going to see that. This will be interesting. That, yeah, priests, only one of the many priests can come close to God once a year.
Well, it's kind of, in a way, you alluded to it, getting up the mountain is like eternity. If you haven't dealt with your sinfulness, you're going to die.
Yeah.
You're not going to get up the mountain.
Yeah, that's good. Oh, that's good.
You know?
Yeah, if you haven't dealt with your sinfulness, you ain't going to get up the mountain.
Yeah,
When you die, you're not going to get there.
you're not going to get there.
You're not going to get where God dwells.
Right.
Is any part of this any precursor to the intercessory role? I mean, defining these roles as far as you can't come directly before God. You communicate through Moses, you communicate through the priests and Aaron and people. And is any of that foreshadowing of the intercessory role of Jesus? Or?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, they're understanding. They're all going to be. They're all on now. They're all in the classroom, and the education has just begun, and it's going to be this whole system that we're now going to enter. This is how we're going to have a relationship. They have found themselves almost forced into this relationship. They didn't ask for it. Now, they were crying out to God in slavery. God said, hey, Moses, I've been hearing my people crying to me, so I'm going to deliver them. This is how we're going to do it. I'm going to send you in. But they didn't expect this. They just wanted somehow, they just thought, hey, we'd be free from Egypt, and we're going to go do whatever we're going to do. God knows, no, now that I got you out, you're mine. You belong to me. And I'm now, you're my dog. I got you out of the pound. And now I'm going to have to teach you. I'm going to yank on your leash. And I'm going to leash you. I'm going to feed you what I want to feed you every day. The same dog food, the same manna, the same quail. Right? I'm going to do these things. We're going to go to puppy obedience school. You can't sit on the couch. That's where I sit. Your dog bed is there. I'm here. You're there. And he's going to let them know, this is your life. This is your role. This is mine. I scratch you when I want to scratch you. But he's going to take this puppy out of the pound and bathe it and train it and break it of its self-will. That's what we're about to see. So that it's going to be a useful hunting dog or something. Okay, so verses 16 to 25, just look at them. On the morning of the third day, God descends on Mount Sinai with thunder and lightning, fire and smoke. It says the blast of this ram's horn is heard. This big horn is just deafening, and the mountain shakes violently. And I want you to consider the resurrection of Jesus in Matthew 28, verses 1 and 2. It's the same thing. That's what's described. It's quite amazing, but it's as if, God in power, revealing himself on the earth, makes his appearance. Everything starts shaking and rattling and rolling. And then we get to chapter 20. And here we go. And we'll get where we can in the next 5 minutes. Then God spoke all these words. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt. And God is going to say this so many times as we go through. It's amazing. Because sometimes we've got to be reminded who God is. Oh yeah, he's the one that did this for me. Out of the house of slavery. Slavery. I delivered you from that. You shall have no other gods before me. What do we call that? Commandment number 1. Here comes the 10 commandments. In Hebrew, it's words, the 10 words. That's actually what is, we say commandments, it's words. And God is speaking directly to the people, it appears, this time. It's not just in the fog to Moses and people are overhearing the conversation. Now they're getting it directly from God himself. And he identifies himself in 3 ways. He says, I am. He uses the word, that name, Yahweh. He says, I'm the eternal one. I'm your God. You know, I've been around forever. I'm your God. I bought your sorry life. I delivered you. I'm your redeemer. You're my people. I got the right to govern your national and your personal life. Doesn't he? Sure he does. And what he's about to give, God himself inscribes on 2 stone tablets. And look what I got tonight. So, the steel's got me a little mini ark, because after the commands were given, God's going to go, okay, you know those things I gave you, this is what I want you to put them in a really cool box. And there's going to be these poles on it. I mean, it's amazing. We'll talk about it, but you know what? And it won't be tonight, but God gives meticulous instruction on how to build this container of his word. And there's the 2 stone tablets, cool little representations, and they are in Hebrew.
I always imagine them bigger.
I always imagine them bigger. That's good, right? Isn't that cool? Okay? But he goes, you're going to put them in that box, and then you're going to put a lid on it. The lid's going to look like this, and there's going to be 2 cherub, 2 of these big angels, facing each other on the top of the box with their wings spread out, pointing like this. Why? He goes, that's my chair. Well, because what Isaiah sees when he finally sees God in his home, in his natural habitat, he's sitting on a chair, and there's these angels over him, shouting back and forth things about God. And you go, oh. So God goes, you know, they don't even know it at the time. He goes, I like what I got. I like my furniture. Make me a little one. It's very cool. Okay.
He said,
Say it again?
that's what he said.
Well, yeah. In the Hebrew, that's how he said it.
Oh, the Message translation?
The Message translation. Okay, so the law we're going to go through, it's inscribed on front and back of 2 stone tablets. 8 of the 10 words are really prohibitions rather than commandments. It's numbers 4 and 5 are the commands. Law is essentially restrictive, right? You can't, you can't, you can't. The tablets, they're kept in this ark. The dimensions would have been 3 by 2 feet. It wasn't enormous, didn't need to be. But that tells you how big the stone tablets probably were.
Big guy.
Something like that. Pretty heavy, I'm sure. So the first issue of business on the mountain is to create the means by which people can approach God. And since the invisible God spoke directly to them at Sinai, they're not to attempt in any way to make representations of him to aid them in worship. And in the religious context of that day, that would have been revolutionary. A revolutionary requirement, because every ancient world religion, you have a representation of the God that you're worshiping. It's an idol. Oh, we believe in this snake thing, or this half bull, half man, and you create this thing, and everybody prays to it. God goes, none of that, because I don't look like that. You have no idea what I look like, so they even try to make some representation. Not to mention, you're going to look at it, for some of you as people, this is how stupid we are. We start to actually believe in the thing that we make when we pray to it. It happens today. I've seen it. If you travel internationally especially, you'll see people bowing before these idols that people made. And they know people made them. But they actually pray to that thing and think that thing's going to answer. Even though it can't talk, it doesn't move, it doesn't walk, it doesn't eat the food you put in front of it. So, here we go. Let's look at the laws. Can you stay a few more moments here?
Of course, Scott.
Yes.
10 Commandments was the first time information was ever downloaded from the cloud.
Oh, that's okay. First time information was ever downloaded from the cloud.
From the cloud onto a tablet.
From the cloud onto a tablet. Oh, that's pathetic. God was telling us back then about the day in which we live. Okay, so the first thing is, again, I'm your God. I saved you. I rescued you. You don't get to believe in anything else. Don't pray to anything else. Nothing else gets credit. Nothing else should have your allegiance. I bought you. First commandment makes a little more sense. You ever think of it that way? Don't know if you ever thought of it that way before, but that's why he says, we always recite, the first commandment is, you shall have no other gods before me. He says that right after saying, because I bought you. You don't rely on anything else. Number 2, you shall not make for yourself an idol, whether in the form of anything that is in heaven above, or that's on the earth beneath, or in the water under the sea. I mean, if you saw ancient Egyptian gods or any of the gods, I mean, you got these weird, and there's fish statue gods, and there's flying eagle kind of creature gods, and everything in between, and hybrids of things is what they believed in. Okay? Don't do that. You shall not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God. What's jealousy? What's jealousy? How does jealousy compare with envy? You're jealous or envious? You're envious of what belongs to somebody else. But you're jealous when something belongs to you, but somebody else has taken it. He goes, I'm a jealous God. He didn't say I'm an envious God. No, I'm jealous because you're mine. I made you and I bought you. I redeemed you. Okay? Isn't that great? So don't be making some representation of some other thing and worshiping that. Because that's what the world was doing at the time. That's what the nation was doing that they had just come out of. But showing, he says, I'm a jealous God, punishing children for the iniquity of parents to the 3rd and 4th generation of those who reject me, but showing steadfast love to the 1,000th generation of those who love me and keep my commandments. What's God saying? Because sometimes people get this totally out of context. We talk about generational curses. By the way, if a generational curse is based on this, well then if you try to pray against it, you're praying against God. Good luck. Because God said, hey, I do the punishing. If you reject me, man, your kids, your grandkids, your great-grandkids, they're going to pay for it.
Just that the choices we make as a family, learned behaviors, and how we raise our kids affect what they will worship.
I think what he's saying is, you reject me, your kids are going to pay for it, your grandkids are going to pay for it, your great-grandkids are going to pay for it.
Through their learned behavior.
Through their behavior. He goes, you love me? Man, the 1,000th generation. He says, I'm going to show steadfast love to. It's very interesting. By the way, you need to know it's in Ezekiel chapter 18. God reverses that. It's very interesting. He says, I will not punish the children for the father's sins. I mean, so anybody that believes he punishes the kids for the father's sin. But I do want to say this. If that's how God set it up at that point to get your attention, let him do it. If God literally was saying, you need to follow me or I'm going to make sure your kids end up in slavery and your grandkids, great-grandkids. You got me? I mean, however that is interpreted. If he's playing hardball, let him play hardball. Tough love, James Dobson would call it. But he's pretty much saying, if he's saying there, I personally will take it out. I will punish the next 3 or 4 generations for what you fail to do right now. I think that would cause you to what? Yeah, you're gonna straighten up and you're gonna take notice. You're gonna get your life in line. I don't want my kids to pay for my sins. All right, great. I can see wisdom in that approach. Okay, got a few.
Keep
A little bit more.
Keep going.
Continues. 7, you shall not make wrongful use of the name of the Lord your God, or the Lord will not acquit anyone who misuses his name. You shall not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, says the King James Version. So most people have the Ten Commandments memorized by way of the King James Version. Thou shalt not, thou shalt not, thou shalt not, shalt not. Okay, but again, what does this mean? You shall not. When you don't take the name of the Lord God in vain, what does that mean? I think I've told you before. You shall not make wrongful use of the name of the Lord your God.
Well, don't misrepresent it, for one thing.
Don't misrepresent him. So, okay, so he's going. I love this. Think how the commandments are stacked. You belong to me, I bought you. You will not have any other God. You're not going to believe in all this other stuff. Don't make any creature crud like everybody, like you usually do. No teraphim. Talking about them in Genesis. Right? None of that stuff. None of the gods of Egypt. And since you got my name, you're carrying my name, don't misrepresent me. Don't say you belong to me and act like you don't. That is to take God's name in vain. It's to say, oh, I belong to God, but you live like you don't. Don't be a hypocrite. That's what he's saying.
Isn't the misinterpretation that we put on it in the word take? We think don't take the name in vain.
Like don't use.
Don't use it as a cuss word.
Yeah, don't use it as a cuss word.
Don't like physically
Don't take it
onto you if you're not going to let it.
Yeah, don't, thank you, Norman, yeah. Yeah, it's not about cussing, yeah, it's not about, yeah, taking the Lord's name in vain is not blank, damn it. You took the name of God in vain. That's not what it means. Don't do that either. That's not what it means. 8, remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. Sabbath day? Well, he's starting a new one here. 6 days, now he spells it out. They're going, what's that? Sabbath day, what's that? Okay, here we go. 6 days you shall do all your work. He understands, hey, there's work to do, money to make, stuff you got to do, crops you got to take care of, animals, got to feed them every day, blah, blah, blah. But on the 7th day, oh wait, when did he start this? Manna. 6 days, go out, grab your food, don't worry about it, get to the 7th day, because whatever you just collect double on the 6th day, because the 7th day, it won't rot, you can have it then. I just want you to relax, time out, talk with me, let's just...
You will be fulfilled.
Yeah, it's really cool. So, but the 7th day is the Sabbath to the Lord your God. You shall not do any work, you, your son or your daughter, your male or female slave, your livestock, or the alien resident in your town. Slave, do they already have slaves? They were slaves. What? We'll talk about that, especially that's in chapter 21. That'll be next week. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth. I think I skipped over some stuff. Sorry. And all that is in them, but rested on the 7th day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and consecrated it. Okay, this goes all the way back to the very, very beginning of the Bible. There's something about a work week. There's something about the Sabbath day. It will go into detail later. But he's just giving them, just don't worry about it. Don't worry about the details. Don't ask me a bunch of questions. Just do what I'm saying right now. You're going to need this. All right? I'm going to explain it later. Verse 12. Honor your father and your mother, so that your days may be long in the land of the Lord your God, that the Lord your God has given you. You do what your mom and dad says, chances are you'll live a longer life. Be stupid and reject the wisdom of your parents. You may not live as long. You're jeopardizing your life, your health, your sanity. Okay, I reminded you, it means honor. The word honor is to weigh heavy. Honor your father and mother. In the Hebrew, it means to weigh them heavy. When they have something to say, compared to what your friends have to say, give weight to what your mom and dad have to say. Okay? They're the priority over other people. Right? And there's respect is in there, showing respect, but it's actually give them weight. Now, this is interesting. This command really has something to do with how you believe in God. We'll stop at this one. How do you honor and respect a God you can't see when you don't honor and respect the authority that you do see? So he says, I want you to respect mom and dad, because they're really that reflection of him, because he's going to reveal himself as, I'm your father. I'm not just your God who saved you. I'm dad. Honor me. Weigh me heavy. What I have to say and who I am in your life, my influence in your life, give that weight. And he starts that instruction, that learning on give your parents weight. What's probably the biggest problem in any family? Fighting parental authority, rebellious children. What's the nightmare for families? Rebellious kids.
Is he speaking rather narrowly there in that you have generations upon generations, and he has given his teachings to the parents, and they, being good parents, have learned the teachings of God. Therefore, you should obey your parents and their teachings.
That's very good, and actually he's going to go there. That's going to be in the very beginning of Deuteronomy, where it's parents, you teach your kids everything that you know, and I've taught you. You pass it down to every generation. You pass it down, they pass it down, and you do that. And kids better obey mom and dad who know me, they've walked with me, they know my rules. And when you follow their rules, they're following my rules. And it sets you up for a lifetime of following God. Right? So we live by concrete authority as children, so we can live by choices as adults. And be responsible, right? We live by concrete authority as kids. Mom said yes or no. Dad said this, yes or, good or bad. Do this or do not do that. Well, why? It doesn't matter why. It's because I told you. Because I said so. It's concrete authority. God goes, because I said so. And kids need that. And they'll understand in due time why there's wisdom in that. And then it helps them, as they're responsible adults, to live by choice, which should be meaning good choices. They'll know what to do. All right. Lot to cover in one night. Went over 15 minutes. Sorry about that. But we good? Any questions? Thoughts? No?
We should have a greenhouse for Wednesday nights.
We can call this greenhouse.
Just a little bit more on that. It seems so commonsensical in that where the Lord constantly had to come back and, what's the word? Emphasize, it's not the right word, but emphasize that he was there and all powerful with first the Red Sea and then opening the rock for the waters, and when they all cried out and didn't believe, and constantly every so often doing that. And then he says, obey your parents, because, obviously he's not going to be around all the time to keep giving these object lessons is what I was thinking of.
Oh, that's good.
So therefore you have your parents who have learned the object lessons and are your constant reminder of the object lessons in the past for the future.
That's fantastic. Very good. Very insightful. Very true. He definitely pitches it to mom and dad, and we see that as the nation develops. Come Deuteronomy, that book, it's going to be okay. I'm about to cut the umbilical cord. You're going to go to the promised land. Don't forget me. But he puts it on the parents. Okay, moms and dads, teach this to your kids. When they go to bed at night, recite this stuff to them. When they wake up in the morning, give it to them. When you walk on the road, talk to them, tell them, remind them of my commands and our history. It's exactly what happens. It's great, Gary.